let's talk right now about whether or not he should be eating it. What if he got fat? What if he became too fat to work? And would he be entitled to, as Wes Streeting, the new Health Secretary, who's otherwise, I thought, a very sensible fellow, one of the few sensible people in the Cabinet, is talking about how we should be giving people free weight loss jabs. £200 a month they cost on the open market if they're unemployed and too fat to work. Well, let's talk about this with Carl Heneghan, Professor of Evidence-Based Medicine at the University of Oxford. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I suppose the first question is just simply, you know, would this be good use of NHS resources?
Well, look, let's take this. So, look, obesity is a big problem. We can all accept that. About 2/3 of adults over 45 are obese or overweight, so that's a significant problem. Do the drugs help you lose weight? While you're on the drug, about 70% of people will lose about 10% of what their weight at 15 months. That's taking the drug. That means that you continue. But importantly, nice guidance. Its assumptions say once you come off the drug, you're only allowed it for a maximum of 2 years on the NHS. Within 3 years, you'll have regained your weight and you'll be back to normal. Importantly, in the trial, it's not just the drug, it's also part of a weight management program. So people had lifestyle coaching about diet and exercise.
Yeah.
So it's in people who are motivated. In the unmotivated group, with no idea. Now, of those
so wait a minute,
people,
so those results aren't actually that good for people with all of the extra help around them and being motivated?
Yeah, that's it. So you have to say they are while you're on the drug, but like all of these, you significantly regain weight once you come off it, particularly if you don't change your lifestyle and do things differently. But importantly, take the unemployed. There's about 1.44 million unemployed, and your last caller talked about the cost. Is this a wise use of taxpayers' money? If you put 10% of people on that, a conservative estimate is, I think, a ballpark estimate is that it will be about £300 million per year. And for that, Wes says the unemployed take 4 extra days off work. Not the unemployed, the obese and overweight, 4 days off work. So we talk, that doesn't include the cost of the GPs and the services, so you'll overwhelm that. And it doesn't include the lifestyle management program. So the cost will go up and up. And that's just 1 in 10 people unemployed. So I think this is a really odd thing for the Secretary.
It's just not a priority. What about the ethics of it, actually? Because my caller, Jackie, just said a really interesting point that actually, when you're talking about, well, you know, these people are a cost to the NHS and they're a cost to society, they're on benefits, they're not contributing, and they're using NHS resources, that actually, you know, we should, you know, Wes Streeting was very clear, he wouldn't prioritise the unemployed, but they should be eligible for it, that would be a cost saving. When medicine is supposed to be, medical treatment in the NHS is supposed to be according to need, isn't it, as opposed to according to your medical benefits, because on that basis you could argue that someone who is a higher rate taxpayer should be at the front of the queue over someone who's a low rate taxpayer or unemployed, and that doesn't feel morally right to me.
So what's happening here is we keep going to prevention, where you can get more and more people and make more and more money out of them. And that's why these drugs are blockbusters. I have to say, I've never seen a drug with marketing like this before.
No,
Everybody tells you it's a game changer. Wes Streeting says it's momentous. You're like, Monumental, he said, sorry. Now, in doing so, we're like looking at that and you're saying, yeah, we've got problems with record waiting lists, A&E, I mean, dire straits going into winter. Nobody can see a GP, and yet the Health Secretary, in his first 100 days, this is what he sets out as priority. I cannot understand that. And to be honest with you, anybody who thinks there's a simple solution to this, said this before, will be wrong. And this will be, yes, a monumental cost to the NHS, which at the moment we can't afford given the other problems.
Well, indeed, other priorities, and, you know, people not getting cancer treatments because NICE has approved them, but says, well, yeah, but they're too expensive, you know, and how we actually rate whether a drug is worth giving to someone. Now, it seems to me that when there is a completely free option, which is people eating less and exercising more, there is never a justification for this. But I'm also opposed to gastric bans on the NHS and the like as well. I mean, even if it was the NHS would give them, but we'd you know, be able to get a loan to pay for it, but you have to pay us back out of all the money you save out of the food you're no longer eating. That would work for me. But I'm sorry, I take quite a ruthless view on this, and it's not being nasty about people who are overweight. I've had weight problems. I've had to put weight, and I put a couple of stone on, lose a couple of stone, but I've always done it. I'm not being moralistic about it, but the hard way, which is that, you know, you eat less, you exercise more, and actually most people, certainly by the time you get to my age, you can't eat what you want and not put on weight. It's a choice that you make. But I don't see why people who are all making the right right choices and you're going out to work and paying taxes should pay for the people making the wrong choices. That doesn't seem to me to be a fair way of doing things.
We've spent a long time getting into this problem. It's going to take us a long time to get out. It's going to have to start right at the childhood and schools and education, like you say. Your callers were saying about people learning to cook so that actually they can cook food that's nutritious but not calorie dense. In doing so, we change the whole lifestyle of people, and it will take a long term to get out of this mess. The problem is preventive medicine, that includes drugs and vaccine, is overly assertive, overly aggressive, and often gives you the panacea of benefits that are not realised in the long term. And it costs you a lot of money. These drugs are going to eat into the NHS budget, and are all the while, like you say, the priority should be cancer waiting times now should be a laser-like focus for this Health Secretary, and I cannot understand why that's not the case. And if not, he's going to be replaced by somebody else yet again who may go and try to get on and solve some of these
Exactly. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. As you well know, we've discussed the role of pharmaceutical companies in terms of vaccine rollout for COVID many, many times since 2020. It is nevertheless the fact that pharmaceutical companies, again and again and again over the decades, have been found out for having completely and utterly skewed their trial results of their trials, saying that, oh, they're completely safe, not a problem, being very dishonest. There have been, I mean, huge court cases costing, people getting huge payouts because of basically, let's be honest, lies that are often being told by pharmaceutical companies. At the end of the day, they are not charities. They're not worried about our health. They are profit-making machines. And there are huge profits to be made, not from curing diseases, but from providing drugs en masse to millions of people in a population, preferably getting them on, bought en masse by organisations like the NHS, and keeping people on those drugs for years and years and years. That's where the big money is made, and that's what pharmaceutical companies spend their years and years and billions developing. So when a drug company, all these different drug companies, come up with this miracle drug that apparently is absolutely wonderful, no side effects other than, OK, people, I think they get diarrhea and feel a bit rotten and feel sick and they don't want to eat. So, yeah, that will work for you. But fundamentally, long-term, no, perfectly safe. When everything is too good to be true, I wonder whether it is true.
So just to say, 1 in 15 people in the trial stopped the drug due to GI, diarrhea, gastrointestinal effects. But actually 10% of people suffered serious adverse events. So that's the thing about the industry and the marketing. They never give you the benefits and the harms, and they're always suppressed. Most of the weight loss drugs that we've had over time are pulled from the market because of the complications, because up front they're not clear and transparent with people. But you're right, this drug has had a massive marketing campaign. It's bought up media people on the TV who've been taking payments. Now we see it's getting to our politicians who think it's the game changer. And to be honest here, I think what needs to happen is our politicians need to take stock and stop talking about changing the game with single magic bullets and actually be realistic. The NHS isn't broken, but it's in serious problems. And if it doesn't have a focus on where those problems are, we are going to go into this winter. And Julia, we're going to be talking about a real mess this winter because we are in a problem right now with out of hours, A&E and the waiting list. I just cannot understand what Wes Streeting is doing because he's veering off target when he started off with the NHS is broken. And now he's saying the answer is these drugs for weight loss. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely. I'm going to send this video to him, make sure he has a look at it. Carl Heneghan, always so good to talk to you. It's old-fashioned, Professor of Evidence-Based Medicine, University of Oxford.